always good questions coming in left and right. So what we had talked about is if I can get you to think about one thing when it comes to becoming a closer, it's that I want to get you thinking a little more of like structure, structuring your closing techniques. If you're a top producer out there and it's just been working for you, there's a reason why. I'm going to tell you here in a minute why that's working for you, why it's been working for you, because a lot of top producers, this just comes natural. It's not that they're doing anything new or different or change or any secret sauce. They're just naturally people persons, right? Does that mean a non-people person like we call maybe I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to use the disc profile today. I promise. I promise you I will not use the disc profile. All right? I'm going to refrain. All right? But maybe you're not so much of a people person and you come off a little more salesy. And maybe your close is a little harder. Well, that's okay. You can still do it. I just want to, if I help you to structure what you're doing a little bit, maybe it'll be easier for you. Maybe not. All right. So first off, I love the ABCs. Okay. Love ABCs. ABC, always be closing, because that's your number one thing that you're doing is creating relationships and closing. But what are we closing? Are we closing escrows? No. Well, yeah, eventually we are. But no, what we're closing is we're closing to commitment, which the commitment could be another appointment. It could be closing to getting them to sign that buyer agency agreement or seller agency agreement. It could be closing to an appointment in person in your office. Could be closing to something like that. Could be. So we're always closing, always. And all the way to actual closing escrow. And then what are we doing after that? Then we're putting them in our system and closing to a referral. We can never, we don't ever want to let them go and we just don't talk to them anymore. We want to make sure we're constantly talking to them. Consistently talking and closing them. Okay, so most salespeople suffer from being what we call a weak closer. Most people do, okay? If you can't close, you can't sell. Basically, that's it. We've got to close them to some sort of commitment. So some of the content I'm going to cover today is in this book called Spin Selling. If you haven't read it, I highly suggest it. It's not a real estate sales book. It's for any type of business out there that needs to close. If you're a contractor out there, you've got to close to commitment to hire you over someone else, right? If you're a contractor, if you're a plumber or anything like that, I've got some really good friends that are plumbers and they're a little slow in business right now too. And so for them, it's the same thing. They need to close to appointment to show them how they can fix the problem and how simple it's going to be, and then get them to go. If you just right away were to go to, well, I'm going to be crazy salesy, and right away they're going to say, hey, so how much is this? And right away you say, oh, it's, $500, $1,000, $5,000 for this repair. Right away, they're going to be like, ooh, dollars, right? But that's why we have the structure, because if you don't go straight towards that, you've got to create the urgency. You got to create the reason why they need your product, the reason why they need you to represent them as a buyer's agent or a listing agent, or fix their plumbing issue or their whatever it is, or you're selling them a product. The Spin Selling actually talks a lot about industrial things, what this factory might need that factory might not have, or automations, and trying to sell them on a $120,000 product when they've already, just to help their current product work better. And it gives a really good explanation of that, on how this person goes straight to $120,000 is what it costs for me to have my product help you work better. And right away they're like, whoa, it's a lot of money. But then they show the successful salesperson on how they're doing what they call investigation skill to gather data to get them to realize they need you. As real estate agents, buyers need you. 98% of people out there use a buyer's agent to show them properties and help them buy a house. 98%. And you should be using that stat if you're, in the real estate world, you should be using that stat quite often when you're in your listing appointments to explain to them and start to pre-talk about the buyer's agent commission. You should be using that stat because that's true stat. There's very few people out there that just go direct. Every once in a while, you get that call from that person that's just calling people, all right, and saying, hey, I'd like to see this house. And you're the listing agent, and they're like, okay, yeah. Do you have an agent? No, I don't. Okay, well, I need to sign a buyer agency agreement with you. No, I don't want to do that. I just want to go direct to the sellers. And okay, so if we were to back that up a little bit and say, got it. So let's get down to number one, your preliminary, warming up the event, how you introduce yourself, how you begin your conversation. The first 2 minutes will influence the rest of the sale, the first 2 minutes of that call. Getting to know each other before getting down to business and getting the commitment. You got to get to know each other first. So first off, okay, before you just jump into that, got it. So let's just get down to brass knuckles. This house is perfect for you, right? So what is it about the house you love it? What do you like about it so far? Now we start to find out using two different strategic things, which is one is implied needs and explicit needs. Okay? Implied needs would be something that's implied. Let's use maybe, I want to use like a simple item, like maybe a pencil. Okay, we'll use like a pencil or versus a pen. Okay, a pencil versus a pen. So if you are needing to go to school, maybe you're a college kid. If you're a college kid on this call, great. Wow, you're a youngster. But if you're needing to go to school and you like pens over pencils because you like how they write, they don't erase, not all of them, some of them do, but I just like it. Right? That's the simplest way I can explain implied needs. Right? It's implied. I need it because I like it, right? It's something I really do enjoy. Explicit, I need to sign my loan docs right now because I want to close tomorrow. I have to close tomorrow because I'm going to be out of my other house. That's the easiest way I can explain it. Explicit needs. Now, you need some say you need a lot of implied needs in order to sell a product. Not necessarily. In higher sales volumes, you need to know the implied needs of this buyer or seller so that you can find out more about their explicit needs so that ultimately they can create that relationship and get to know you better. Implied, explicit needs. You need to find out their needs. So we're going to talk today about, let's just say, 4 stages, okay? 4 stages in the close, in becoming a closer to get them to close to commitment. Okay, stage 1 is the preliminary. Talk about that right now. That's warming up the event. That's getting them ready. Okay, how you introduce yourself, how you begin conversations. Very, very important to get started right. I'll give you a quick example. Okay, hey, this is Sean Cardoza with IdahoHomesearch.com. I noticed you like a property on there. Can I help you with it? And right away, they're going to be like, no, I'm good. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, are you sure there isn't something that I could do? Like, is there any questions I can answer about that? No, I'm good. Thanks. Are you sure? Click. They hang up on you. That's probably a lot of people, a lot of you, right? That's pretty typical on doing cold calls. That's why you don't like doing cold calls. I can help you to love cold calls. Let's change up your script a little bit, okay? Hey, this is Sean Cardoza with IdahoHomesearch.com. I see you saw a price, you're liking that property. Thanks for using our website, by the way, but I see you like that property over at 5265 fake address. Hey, can I open the door for you this Friday? How about 5 o'clock? Does that work? Let's go look at it. I'd love to give you a closer look at that property. And then what am I doing first? I'm kind of going straight to it at first, but I'm going to pull back here in a minute. But first is, what does this person want? Well, they're looking at properties. Obviously, they maybe want to see it. So let's see if I can go to the explicit for a second before I start jumping in the applied needs. Explicit needs would be, I need to move right away because I'm getting job transfer. Maybe I'm in the military, getting relocated. I need to move right away. That's explicit. I've got a need right now. Implied is, I like, my family's growing and I'd like to have more bedrooms. So I'm going to get to those in a minute, but first I want to try to entice them to talk to me so I can start getting into it. Great, awesome. Okay, I'll make an appointment at 5 o'clock this Friday. That works for you. I'll meet you there. But so just curious though, what is it about this property that's catching your eye? Is it the bedrooms and bathrooms? I do know this man had a beautiful kitchen. Is it the kitchen? Yeah, we have family and we've got too many kids. Would like to go and have more bedrooms for my kids. So now I'm getting into their implied needs, and I'm starting to warm it up a little bit. And I'm still in that beginning preliminary stage of getting to know them. So now I'm like kind of warming it up, getting to know them a little bit, finding out what their needs are. And then eventually I'm going to keep going with that. A good salesperson is going to keep going with those needs analysis. That's out of Brian Eisenhower's mouth right there. Needs analysis. He's huge on the needs analysis. You've got to have a good needs analysis and analyze what their needs are. What does needs analysis mean? You're analyzing what their needs are, right? We're finding out what they need. Great. So yeah, that bedroom, oh yeah, it's beautiful. What's that going to do for your family? Having a few more bedrooms. What's it going to do for your family? I mean, I imagine probably a lot. Yeah, my kids are fighting like mad. They're growing and they're fighting. I just would really, really help my wife and I to kind of have a little more space for them. So now I'm finding a little more. There's some family stress going on, and I'm digging. I'm digging like mad to find out more. The more I can get closer to the explicit needs that they have, the more this relationship is solidified. And then I can jump into the investigating stage. So now I've kind of warmed them up and I'm jumping into that investigating stage. And I'm finding things out by asking questions and gathering more data. So, when would you like to move by ultimately? Do you have any specific needs? Like, are you currently renting? What do you like about your current house you're in? Are you renting? Yeah, great. What do you like about it? What do you hate about it? What's the negatives about it? I'm finding out just as much as I can about them by asking a lot of questions about their needs. That investigation stage is probably the most important part in any commitment or close scenario, is that investigation stage. And then I'm going to jump into step 3. Step 3 is demonstrating the capability. Demonstrating capability. This is how you show your solution to their problem. Okay. So going back to the spin selling book, and it talks about that guy that right away he calls him and he goes, "Oh, so hey, do you know anything about the so and so product for your line?" I can't remember from the book what it is, but it's some sort of product. And he goes, "Oh yeah, we got 5 of those." And he says, "Oh yeah, great. How's that working out for you so far? Is it working and saving you time and money?" "Yeah, it's working pretty good. I mean, does it have any negatives or downsides?" "Yeah, every once in a while it kind of has a little bit of a glitch here and there, and it gets offline for a little bit. It kind of backs us up, but we get right back on real quick." "Oh yeah, that's great. And what does that do for you when you're offline? How hard is that to catch up?" "Oh, we have to pay overtime sometimes to the guys." "Okay, so imagine that's costing them about $5,000 more." "Yeah, 5,000. The book gets into, some monetary hurt and pain that it has for them. And then he keeps going along and ends up finding out that, he's actually lost several employees that have quit because of how much stress this is putting on them to have to constantly deal with the downtime, constantly catch up. And then others are having to work overtime and all this money starting to happen. He's like, "Yeah, boy, it sounds like this." And it opens up the buyer's eyes all of a sudden to, yeah, my goodness. Yeah, it really has been a painful. I didn't realize it until we really start talking this out. So it's been pretty painful. So now he can sell his $120,000 product that helps streamline that machine so that it doesn't have that time. So it's easier for the employees to work. So in the long run, the $120,000 is going to not only save him employees quitting, training new employees, all this stuff he's having to go through, that it's so much easier. So he's selling the product by demonstrating the capability to provide a solution to their problem. And spin that over to real estate, right? So we've got a buyer that's just calling on an online lead and they're just somewhat interested, or they just happen to be interested. Maybe it's a live, some of you are on Opcity leads. Your conversion ratios could be higher on those Opcity leads, or Zillow leads or realtor.com leads or whatever it is. So maybe your conversion ratios could go up. How can you make them go up? One is preliminary. You're warming them up. You're getting to know them. You're asking more questions. Stop going straight to the sell. Okay, it's going way too fast. Find their needs. Find out about them. Create that relationship. What is it? How is this painful for them right now? What is their pain? There might be pain on their family. If they don't move fast enough, they could lose their job. I'm going to spin it over to a situation I had recently in Idaho, where I had this family moving from California over to Idaho, and not only like they wanted to go now. There was a lot of implied reasons, implied needs they needed to go now. But then I found out that they're in their current house is under contract in California, and it's going to be closing on October 1st. Now it's time to shift gears. They've got explicit needs. They got explicit needs now. They've got to go much quicker. So now we're looking for properties. He flies in. We search around. We spend a day all day. I picked him up from his hotel and we drove all over the place searching for properties. Found him a property. They put an offer on it. We got it accepted. We're under contract. About 2 weeks into it. And then his job tells him, his boss ended up quitting because they didn't like the supervisor much. And the supervisor that was above the boss ended up taking over and saying, oh, wait a second, you can't move to Idaho. You can live in California, Washington, or Oregon. I love these people to death. I feel so much for them. Haven't had a situation like that in a while. So now things are shifting. They're going to be out of a home pretty soon. So I'm willing to help them whatever I can do to help them move to another state, get them in touch with another agent over there, whatever we need to do to help them. And things shift really fast sometimes like that, but sometimes it shifts towards you to where you're the one that needs to be the one to do it. So, but if you don't ask those questions, you don't find out those things right away. You got to ask more questions during that initial time. Now, once you're able to show how your results of helping them with these hard times that are going on in their family or whatever it is that's causing them to want to move, there's a reason why they want to move. Typically, it starts out with just a want, but there's usually a need behind it. Otherwise, why would they move? You've got a low interest rate right now, refinanced, or maybe they're renting and they happen to be locked in a pretty good rent. Why would they move if everything's perfect? They wouldn't. Everything's not perfect. It's your job to find out why they're wanting to do this. And the quicker you find out, the quicker you get through that demonstrating capability on why you're the solution to help them with this problem, is the quicker you're going to get to the final number 4, which is the obtaining commitment. So it's not as hard as it looks, right? The problem is most people jump from here down to commitment. Or maybe you're just automatically good and you didn't know there was 4 stages to it. And you just have always been good and you get to commitment. Cool. But knowing now that there's actually stages to this, preliminary. This is a preliminary phone call. Your very first phone call with them. Your very first email with them. Your very first whatever it is. Your very first in person. Whatever it is. That's just a preliminary. Stop jumping. You'll get there. But take your time. The more you take your time, the faster you're going to get them to commit. So slow down, pump the brakes a little bit. Get through that preliminary and the investigation stage, the top 2 most important 2 stages. Then you get to demonstrate now why you're the results. You're the one that's going to help them. And then finally, the last one is obtaining commitment. Committing is not closing escrow, though. It's committing to work with you. Committing to get that signed. Committing to sign that buyer's agent agreement. Or appointment set, appointment met. Remember, the 2 most important things is you got to get that appointment, and then you got to meet it. And then you go find someone else tomorrow or today or later this afternoon to get another appointment, and then meet it. I want to get you guys past this roller coaster because winter typically makes it really difficult for realtors, typically. Now, today is a day, guys. It's a big day. You know it is. You've probably heard that Federal Reserve Board, I believe today's the day they're meeting. I heard potential future presidents talking about that yesterday, about how there's going to be some changes right now, potentially today, that a lot of people are projecting that the interest rate's going to go down, or they're going to say the interest rate's going to go down. You know how it is, like a rubber band effect. Usually when interest rates go down, mortgage interest rates follow, All right. So we could potentially see a very busy next 3-4 months ahead of us, which would shoot us through winter like no tomorrow, with a lot of buyers coming out of the woodwork. Prepare yourself now though, because that's not a typical winter. So how do we get you from work, and then we're servicing, and now we're like, oh shoot, we have nothing under contract. Work, servicing, nothing under contract. How do we get you from there to up here? To work, under contract, multiple under contract, multiple work, multiple. And how do we get you up here so it's a straight line and you're no longer down here? It's following these guidelines to getting more closings, becoming a bigger closer and better at your words and better at your conversations, and not so salesy. Not so salesy. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little statistic that came out of the book. Okay, the book asked if you were the buyer, okay, you're the buyer, and you detected that someone was trying to use closing techniques on you, would it affect the likelihood of you choosing to buy or choosing to use that agent? All right, and then I can't remember how many people they met with, but it was a really low rate, like 2 were more likely to buy. 18 were indifferent. I don't know, maybe not. If you knew that this was a closing technique. All of you have had the door-to-door solar salesman. I had one the other day show up my door, and I feel so bad because I was not nice to him. But I was not. I should have been nicer because one is I should have had, oh, this is an opportunity to pick up a vendor for my vendor list. But what he did was he did a very bad thing. And I'll tell you what he did so you don't do it, okay? And that's before I tell you the last one, okay? What he said was his partner goes, hey, I think I've been here before. I think I talked to your wife. What's her name? Nah, you just lost me. You're asking my wife's name. I'm not going there. So that's when I ended the conversation. I said, yeah, not interested, guys. Have a good day. And don't do that. that was bad. Now, somebody that knows sales, that's a bad thing for me. That may work for some people. Maybe it worked for them. He was trying to create a relationship with me and act like he knew my wife, but I knew he didn't know my wife. So wasn't going to play that game. So, all right. So the last one. So 2% less likely to use if they knew they were being sold, 18% indifferent, and 34% less likely to buy. So if you're coming off way too salesy instead of coming off with a needs analysis from the beginning, preliminary questions and investigative questions, finding out, what they like about this property. What is it? Get them committed to you first to go look at the house. You want to go see it? Let's go look at it. That's what they're calling for. They want to see a dang house. So let's get that commitment and say, okay, I'm going to schedule that time. By the way, just curious, what is it? Because maybe I can see if there's any others. Maybe we could schedule 2 or 3 more. What is it that you like about this one? What's catching your eye? And you start to go through those questions, get to that demonstration phase, and then go to commitment after that. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of a failing salesperson. Okay, salesperson, is there anything I can tell you about this project? Anything I can tell you about the property? Anything I can tell you about it? No, I don't think so. I think we're good. Okay, are you sure there's nothing I haven't covered? No, can't think of anything. Okay, perhaps I didn't mention that I also cover Fresno County. Okay, well, it's getting a little late. I got to get to another meeting, the buyer says. Oh, did I mention that I'm also Spanish speaking? Guys, this is getting bad. Look, I got to go. Are you sure? Have I answered all your questions? All right, this just goes deeper and deeper. And a lot of new realtors, a lot of new salespeople, that's their type of conversations. Think a little bit, guys. Think a little bit. Don't be afraid to make these calls. Get uncomfortable. Make the calls, but prepare yourself ahead of time. Okay? Look up the property that they're interested in. Look it up. See them, and see what that property has. So now you have a little tools in your tool belt to ask these questions. And just be yourself. Have a conversation with a good friend, because that's what this person needs to be, is your good friend, right? So each of those steps, it'll advance you to the next one. Open and closed questions. Okay, you got to know the difference between open-ended and closed-ended questions. Open causes longer answers. Open-ended questions usually causes them longer answers. Like, hey, so do you like the fact that this is do you know of the parks in the area? Oh yeah, I saw that there was like 5 or 6 parks over there. Yeah, you know, like those, whatever. That's probably a horrible example. Okay, do you would you rather have a 3 bedroom or a 4 bedroom property? That's closed. That's a really closed in. Oh, I'd like to have a 4 bedroom. Very closed in questions. Closed create short answers. Okay, so just by the way, all this stuff isn't new. It stems back to like the 1920s. So you're not learning a new technique right now. You're finally learning a technique that maybe you just haven't done before. Okay, so spin questions. Spin selling talks about 4 different things here. It's another 4. Okay, situation, which is data gathering questions. That's your situation. Problem questions. Is it difficult where you live? People usually don't ask enough of those types of questions. Okay. Implication questions ask complex questions. How well? Okay, let me see this. How will not affect home? Home affect. Oh, how will this home, not having this home, affect your family? That's implication questions. And need a payoff question. Okay, so you have situational question is a good question to go after. It's your gathering data. Problem questions. Is it difficult where you currently live? How's your current house? How is that working for you? What is the difficulties about it? Okay, that's your problem questions. Implication questions. Ask complex questions. How will not having this house affect you and your family? And then number 4 is need a payoff question. Would it be useful to find a home fast? And that's where you can usually find out if they have a need that's huge that needs to move. All right. I went over a ton. I jumped into implied and explicit a little bit, needs analysis. Questions on this stuff, guys? Okay, I'm going to leave you with this. Okay, open houses. Open houses. A lot of people are choosing not to do open houses because they say no one comes into them. And I'm going to say this. It's the one person that comes in should make you excited. One, that open house, you need to prepare by door knocking the open house first and creating more relationships and ask these types of, if you follow the same questions, the same 4, all right, go through each person you're door knocking. But as people come in your house, usually it weighs a little more on the explicit needs. Okay, less successful people, salespeople, will weigh more on the implied needs. More successful people, usually on the explicit needs. And maybe they don't even realize it. If you're a really good, successful real estate agent, maybe you don't even realize that you actually weigh a lot on the explicit needs, not as much on the implied need. A newer agent that's kind of new, usually you're a little more standoffish. You're not trying to go for the expensive questions so fast, where more successful realtors will typically try to get a little quicker. So a real estate agent will see a potential buyer that comes into an open house as if it's like a neighborhood door, someone just coming in, like a neighborhood that just wants to see the inside of the house, like maybe a neighbor or something like that. They'll see that as just a looky-loo, where I see it as a crazy high potential for me to get a future listing. And one is are you going through those 4 questions with that looky-loo neighbor? Are you finding out your needs, their needs? Because they're coming in there for a reason. And the neighbors typically don't just come in because they want to see. Usually there's a future need that needs to happen. And the more questions you ask, you're going to be able to find that out and have a future client. One is maybe they're not going to buy or sell. Maybe they are looking because they want to sell. Or maybe they have a family who wants to move in, family member. Maybe they want to sell in about a year because they want to move to Tennessee or something like that. Well, if you don't ask the right questions and find that out, do a needs analysis of that looky-loo neighbor, you won't have a future seller, but you also won't have, between now and them selling, a future referral from them. Because our job is to add more people to our referral database system. So that looky-loo neighbor is crazy important. All right. So a highly successful real estate agent, they're going to see that neighbor coming in is a potential future sell and a potential future multiple referral database, person. I need that person to refer me a ton of people. So one is that usually a high successful person will start to uncover a lot more information right away than a new agent. Taking a neighbor and finding out what they have a future plan moving out of state. Usually it's very rare they're just sitting there doing that looky-loo phase. Okay. All right. So probing questions, also known as probing questions are probing questions that are also known as questions to try to find out a really hard thing. And that could get you in trouble sometimes. Be careful with the probing questions. If you do them right, they're very, very good at finding out those needs. Okay. How is the location where they're currently living? What do they think of this neighborhood? Those are good questions for open houses. Are you satisfied with the parks that are in this neighborhood? Are you satisfied with how many bedrooms and bathrooms you currently have? How's your house been over here so far in this neighborhood? And they're going to say, oh, no, our house has been great. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are moving up because they need more bedrooms. Yours just satisfying right now. You guys are good. Well, yeah, we kind of have too many bedrooms, right? Have too many. Oh, okay. That's someone may possibly downsizing. What do you think about this backyard here? Would you hope it'd be bigger, or what do you think? Oh yeah, that's plenty. Maybe they're living in a condo and they have a dog and they need to get into a house with a backyard. Those are the good questions you need to uncover. So take advantage of your open houses and use these for techniques for getting to close faster on people coming in your open houses. All right, so what do you think of that? What I'm going to do for you is I'm going to share this with you. This is a document I was going over, and it's right out of the Spin Selling book. You guys, I'm going to throw it into the group chat here. I highly suggest this book. Read it. And some of the things I threw in here were out of other techniques, too, out of other books, weren't exactly out of this one. So I kind of added a few others to it. But yeah, take the time, go through this, go through that book, make sure you're consistently growing. And I'm going to throw that in here right now. You guys can download it. It's right out of Google Docs. There you go. And I didn't cover it word for word. I kind of skipped around a little bit, but I hope that helps you today. What do you guys think?
That's pretty awesome, Sean. Some of those things I kind of do inherently just because of what we used to do. It's almost, I don't know how to explain it. It's not like, for example, I just had a conversation with a guy that I'm working with as a client now, and just stumbled onto the fact that where he lived now, he can't barbecue. He's got a townhouse, and the fire ordinances won't let him do that. So it wound up turning into this great conversation, because that's my favorite pastime kind of thing. And so there's opportunities. And then did one at open house here in the neighborhood I live in. And when I asked the neighbors, I'm like, you know what, I live in this neighborhood, but I'll tell you what, I know what I like about it. What do you like about it? And those kinds of questions that you're talking about that kind of lend themselves to that next level relationship, and it seems to work pretty good for me. I've seen it. I've worked with a couple of newer agents at open houses where it's just too robotic and too direct.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so I think so everything's learned, right? It just takes time, and to employ some of these tactics, they work. They do. I was sharing with you the script you gave me for the Movado leads, that I tried it immediately, and it worked just like a champ, right? I was just amazed. So just for that, I appreciate the stuff that you're doing, because it's always something extra that I can try.
Oh, thank you, Wes. That's awesome. And a lot of times I'm going to have you guys go through maybe a module or something like that. If you've already gone through it, don't not go through it, because I've had coaching clients do that. And then what do you know? We have them go through it and they learn something new. Every time I go through a module, or I go through something on the online learning center, or something in the Real Cop coaching that I even taught, I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot I have not done that myself. I need to go back to doing that. I think you've probably noticed I've been getting really a lot more videos online. Those of you that are afraid to get behind the camera, knock it off. You need to be the celebrity of the area. How are you going to become the celebrity to your sphere of influence if you can't get folk on social media? Go through that social media marketing module series on the ICC platform and reconnect with it. Realize that those videos are huge right now. People want to see you. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Just so you guys know what Wes is talking about, I gave them a script the other day that will work really well for those of you taking Op City leads. I know Op City, some of you, the new agents that have jumped in, Op City kind of closed the door on us. They're not letting us have more seats, and they won't even let me swap people out. It's very frustrating. But those of you that are taking those are live calls typically that are connected. And here's the script. And you guys can use this on anyone, any lead source you're using where you actually get them on the phone. Hey, how's it going? So I see you like that house over at whatever address. Great property. How about we go ahead and schedule a time over there this Saturday at 5 o'clock, or does 2 o'clock work better? What time works better for you? Let's go ahead and get an appointment. And then they say, oh, okay, great. Yeah, no, how about Sunday? Sunday work? Yeah, sure. Let's get you on Sunday, whatever. So set the appointment. And then you move to, I kind of did this a minute ago too with this training today. Then you move to, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get that set up. But while I get that set up today, I want to start looking to see if there's something else. So what is it that's catching your eye about that property? Is it bedrooms, bathrooms? What do you like about it? So now I'm getting into those needs questions, getting to know him, finding out what he likes. And then we're moving to between now and then. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set that call. I'm going to text you as soon as I get off this phone. So you have my contact information because you came through the system. And then what I'll do is I will follow up with you as well before the call and see if I find any other properties. That sound good? Yeah, great. And then I get off, shoot them the text, and then I don't have a buyer agency agreement signed yet. So my goal is to try to get a face-to-face between now and then so that I can get that signed. Also, I want to find out if they're pre-approved. I don't ask about that on the first call. I've got time. Okay, today's Tuesday. I got a Saturday appointment with them. So maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, I'm going to get a hold of them again and just follow up and say, hey, I found a few more properties. Oh, yeah, by the way, I do have to advise you that, things have changed a little bit in this crazy world of real estate. So we do have to sign a buyer agency agreement with you. I'll go over that with you. You have time today? Let's grab some coffee. Now I'm going to get that face to face, and I might even bring a lender with me. So follow the pathway of success, guys. These are successful things that have worked. Wes is saying it worked like a charm. So do it. Follow the pathway. These things work. Good script?
Awesome.
All right, guys. You guys have a great week. Let me know if you need anything. I'll be on standby.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it, man.
See you guys.
Thanks, Sean.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.